Hey everyone, welcome to Stuff I Never Learned from a School Book. If you're looking at the bearded one, it must be Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, 2 out in Hawaii, 6 a.m. tomorrow morning out in Indonesia, and about 9 a.m. out in Australia. Welcome everybody. My name is Tom Springer, and I am the host of Stuff I Never Learned from a School Book. If you are new to the show, welcome for the first time. I am your host, and I will be your host for as long as the show runs. I do have on a guest tonight, as I always do, and this is a returning guest, and I absolutely love, adore, and appreciate this lady. She's one of the most fantabulous people you will ever meet, just hands down. Don't care what anyone else says, I'm right. Can't argue with the beard, by the way. You can, but at least try to make fun of it at the same time. Anyways, I am going to bring on my friend Michelle. So everyone say hi to Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing wonderful.
So let me get some of these. It was funny because you actually posted on here like at noon today with the message. I saw that from YouTube when you said this should be interesting. Hi, Ingrid. How are you? So just kind of doing the hellos from everybody. Mr. Stewart is saying hello as well. Hi, Sandy. How are you? Tina's saying hi.
Hey, Tina. Yeah. I had her.
Oh. Right? Oh, my goodness. Another tiny girl, just like you. So it's pretty funny. Christy's saying hi. Yes, Stewart is asking a question. I am still in Nashville this week. I get to go home Friday. I will be heading home Friday, finally. Ingrid is saying that you are wonderful. I know, right? I mean, I just bring her on so I look good. So see how that works. So there's Miss Nicole saying you look amazing.
Oh, love you.
Rosie saying hi. She's saying hi to everybody. Stuart saying hello to you. Cindy Brown is saying hello to you.
Hello, darling.
Yeah, so this is just going to continue on and on and on. We know how this works. There's Miss Zhang, my oh my goodness, person who's been with me since the beginning of my shows almost 2 years ago from Indonesia. She wakes up in the morning, and unfortunately, I'm probably the first thing she sees in the morning on Monday mornings. So apologize for that. Christy's saying hello to everybody. So I'm just kind of catch up with all these to see who's on here. Okay, sounds good for now. I'll just kind of roll from this, but as people roll in. But welcome back to my show. For those people who don't know, Michelle has been on my show before. I met Michelle by Facebook stalking her initially, way back when. Came across her face and her page when, as I sometimes do when I get friends' suggestions, and she popped up. And I will tell, she knows this already, but let's see if she remembers. But I saw her. And I was like, that is a powerful energy that I feel from that image. So I started stalking you. It's the best way to call it for people who know me. I started stalking you. And when I read everything you do and everything you've been doing, I was a little intimidated to actually ask you to come on. And what was even funnier after that was you said yes when we first talked. But when we first talked, you seemed like you were very formal. And I think it was just simply because we didn't know each other at the time.
Correct.
Since then, oh my goodness, you are hilarious. And pretty much a nut. Well, and I think your daughter gets that from you too, which is amazing. So again, thank you for coming on. I love you to pieces. And I actually went on an investigation with you. Was fortunate enough to be asked to come on to an investigation, and we said yes, and you were dumb enough to allow us to come on to your investigation. That's your fault now. Now that you know this.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It is. Hi, Kathy. But for those of you who don't get the special knowledge of how I got to know you or don't know who you are, hey, Bobby, what's up, brother? How you doing? I gotta say hi to Bobby because he's owner, leader, whatever you want to say, of my first investigation team I was ever on. So I learned quite a bit from this man. So what's up, Bobby? How you doing, brother?
I had to say hi to Matthew because
I saw that
echoes. Yeah. So very talented person.
Awesome. Welcome, Matt. Hope you enjoy the show. Jeanette's on here, but can you please kind of introduce yourself to everybody? And I know this is going to take more than one breath, but can you please tell everybody who you are, what you do, and how you got started?
So once upon a time, long time ago.
28 years ago. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I started a journey a while back, but it started as a child. And to kind of sum it up was, everybody has different type of abilities. But when I was younger, the abilities I had, I was seeing people in like a darker side. I would see them at the time of their death and was always terrified. I didn't know what that meant. And, all my little, invisible friends were very scary. So, it was kind of like, you block it. Well, one day it finally said, no, you can't do this anymore. And I'm like, okay, what do I do with this? And so I started my own little journey of figuring out, where does all this fit in? Well, the craziest thing was, a lot of us, we're thinking, okay, we speak for the living. And it just kept kicking me in the behind. Like, you're not listening, wake up, knock, knock, knock. And I'm like, okay, this is getting more terrifying because now I'm seeing darker shadows. They form into like creatures and all this. And I kept feeling like I was getting attacked, emotionally, physically, everything. And so I was like, okay, hold on a second. I must be going down this wrong path.
Yeah.
As I was doing all this, I started studying, different things. And so I became a demonologist and also an exorcist. As I was doing that, I noticed that things were starting to make sense to me. So the spirits that were coming to me, the reason I was seeing them that way was I was supposed to tell their stories. They were the unforgotten, voices. And so as I was looking into all that, I noticed the darker stuff was coming. So I kind of walked that fine line, kind of in the light and the dark. And I just kept growing with it. I have worked with churches and things to help out. And we've had this discussion many times, where what is a possession to what is mental health and all this kind of stuff. Yep. So that's kind of where my journey's been. And it's just continued on from there. And that's kind of how I got into the paranormal too, because I'm like, okay, I'm not just going out and getting EVPs and lights. I am supposed to tell their story, and their story sometimes is the battered woman from way back when, and she didn't have a voice then. So now I'm going to give the voice and say, okay, wait a minute. This is really what happened to her. It's not in a textbook. It's not written part of the history because it's all man written, not man, right. But and I just continue my studies. It's something that just keeps carrying me on, but it also makes me very powerful when I'm doing the paranormal investigation, because we might be talking to Tom, who is there and being the spooky because he was the governor and everybody loved him, but behind closed doors, sorry, Tom, he was not a nice person, So now I'm getting, maybe that mistress or, a child that was out of wedlock and different things like that, and how the abuse went. And it's been kind of great because some of the locations or places I've been have found out deeper history of names that are just not your common everyday, let's go to, the Monroe house and this is all we know. And we just continue going from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Jason, I appreciate that.
I like Tom too. That was just the first name that popped out because I'm looking at it.
She's looking at the bearded one and she just can't resist. Just, the name just pops out when you're looking at the beard.
Yeah.
unless you're like 2, 3, or 4 years old, then you start calling me Santa, which has happened. But yeah, and that's interesting too, because there's not. So now that I've been doing this for a couple of years, I still haven't come across. I think you're probably still it. That where someone sees the darker death side of what's going on, which was really interesting because, Bobby's saying Monroe House is phenomenal.
It is.
Which is really interesting because when we were together, we noticed that I was able to pick up on the darker things that you were seeing. So I don't know if you were just a catalyst that allowed me to see it. So I don't know if that's one of the things you have the. I don't think it's just.
I brought you to my world.
Right. It's almost like you invited me to that side and said, "Okay, Tom, what do you see?" And then I told you, and you're like, "Yeah, that's right." So it was very interesting that I was able to connect through you to see what you see in your mind's eye, and I was able to see it too. So that was pretty cool. It was a little freaky. I'm not going to admit. I'm not going to lie. That was a little interesting because I do see a lot of things now, but that one I wasn't expecting. I wasn't ready for, but it was cool though. That was fun for me. Of course it is, because I'm too dumb to know any better to be scared. So it's
like
fun.
I tell people, if you're wanting a love note from, one of your dead relatives, I'm not the person
You're not the one to go talk to. Yeah.
And
if you're going to ask the truth about how they died, was it really a car accident or was it something else? Then you go ahead and ask Michelle. You'll get the truth.
Well, and it was really crazy because just to throw it out there, I went to a Buddhist temple this past weekend. And you know how I am when I go and look at different religions and stuff to see how everything kind of comes as one, right?
Yes.
And I was talking to the master and the monks were talking and he kept staring at me and looking behind me and everything. And I'm just smiling, going, do I tell him? And he goes, what do you do? And I was like, I talk to dead people.
Yeah.
And his eyes got real big and he goes, I do too. He goes, and so we got in a conversation about it. And it was just really interesting because he sees them. He doesn't seem like, when I see him like I see you. It's almost like you'll see me walking and all of a sudden I'm doing one of these and everybody's like, what? And I'm like, I didn't want to bump into that person. And I'm thinking, stop it.
Right?
Not real,
You're not walking down New York, crossing a crosswalk.
I'd be like all over the place. But was just kind of going back and forth and didn't realize that, he could see some of the dark. What is, who do I continue through the light and who does not belong there? And so that was really, really an interesting conversation. And I drank a lot of tea that night. A lot of that.
So I'm going to tell you right now, Miss Michelle, because this happens every time you were on together. We just had a small glitch and I don't know if it was me or you.
I don't know, but I noticed my ear is starting to turn red and something's screeching. So
and my right ear has that ringing going on.
There it is. See, look, everybody, it's real.
It turns that way, which is interesting because you and I, every time we're on together, we break the internet. For some reason, I don't know why, but we break the internet. We're good at this game. In fact, I think you're the one I break it the most with. There's one other person I break it with pretty regularly, but you're the one I break it the most with, which is interestingly enough. And I don't even have my. I'm so sad. I don't even have my shungite. It's in the other room. I didn't know any better. I knew I was coming on with you, and I still didn't grab it. My bad. But so that's really cool though that you have that. But it's kind of crappy that you that she said Santa Claus and Wonder Woman.
Love you.
But it's really cool, but really kind of, when you were younger, sad that you had to figure all this out at such a young age. I'm sure if it would be interesting to know, unfortunately we won't know, but it would be interesting to know if you started seeing all of this at a later age, how would you have reacted to it? would you have just thought you were starting to turn into a crazy lady? Compared to developing it as a kid, you're like, oh, okay, I got to learn how to deal with this from a kid's standpoint, where my imagination is still fantastic and I can wrap my head around this, compared to being an adult and going, oh, my work is getting way too stressful. I need to look at something else because now I'm seeing dead people. So it would be interesting to know what that would have been like for something like that. Like I said, unfortunately, we'll never know. I do want to throw up some of your information first while we're here, really quick, so everyone knows all this wonderful stuff about you. Okay, folks, I'm going to throw all this up there, and then I'm going to copy and paste it into the comments like I normally do. So later on down the road, and for people who are listening and not watching, or who are going to watch this later, here's all the information you can find out about Michelle. Well, not all of it, but the stuff you need to know. So Michelle Roos is actually the owner and founder of Riverside Iowa Paranormal. All right. You can find her Facebook page on facebook.com/Riverside Iowa Paranormal. Always one word. I'm going to come back to the second one here because I'm going to want you to talk about that. And then you can also go to riversideiowa.paranormal.org. All is one word. Riverside Iowa Paranormal, also known as RIP, you'll see them as RIP as well. They actually do group events to where you, the everyday person, can go purchase tickets to meet exciting people and to go on investigations or do other things like the last one we did on, because we also did like the sounding room and everything else and stuff like that. It was really cool. And this is a site that you would go on for anything that's associated with Michelle and her group to buy tickets on. And, oh, wait, kids, there's more.
There's more.
If for some reason you are dealing with something going on in your home, in your private residence, your business, whatever else, and you just need paranormal assistance. Now, I'm going to hit you with two of them here. One is right on this Riverside Iowa Paranormal.org site. And the other site is also my site, which I'm a part of a team called Paranormal Existence Research Society, also known as PERS, and we also assist with that. Now, I will tell you, you can't go wrong with either team. Both of us are free for helping. And the team is stacked with people of all different knowledge bases, not just paranormal and stuff like that, but they have your admin, they have your health and wellness people. They have, all these different people that can help you through what you may or think you may be going through. And by reaching out to either Michelle and her group or to mine, you can get guidance to help put things right, is the best way to do it. It doesn't necessarily mean everything's going to be paranormal. We may find something else that it is not. A lot of the times it is not paranormal, more times than it is. But you have absolutely every capability to you to reach out to riversideiowa.paranormal.org to talk to them about stuff like that. And remember, they also do the ticket sales. Now, let's go back to this second one, because this is one of your latest and greatest adventures. So I'm skipping a lot of stuff. I'm going from your beginning. I'm kind of going to where we're at right now, and then I'm going to go back and fill everything else in between.
Okay.
So right now, if you people do not know, there is this movie out, and it's called Demonis. And you can find it at www.demonisthemovie.com. Guess who's in it?
I think you froze on me. Yes, I am super excited about this. Super excited.
So feel free to talk about this. So I don't want you to give away the ending, because we don't want the ending, or I don't want you to give away the middle. I want you to talk about the movie without talking about the movie. How's that?
All I'm saying is it's going to be a paranormal thriller But what makes this so exciting is we're actually going to be filming it at the Wilson Castle, and that's in Vermont. And so we're going to be at a haunted location to film this movie. And that's what's super exciting about all of it.
Uh-huh.
And I will be playing Julia Reed, and that's going to be my name. And
Awesome.
yeah, I am stoked. I am so stoked because it's going to take what I already kind of know, and
Yep.
it's going to be implemented into this movie. And, the movie is by David J. Paul, who is a visionary, and Mike Fox, who is actually going to be directing and producing it. And he's got Crystal Fox Productions. So yeah, it's exciting. Watch my Facebook page because I'll keep putting stuff up to kind
Yep.
of, keep everybody going. I do have some little sneak peeks of some things. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And you can go out there and take a look at it.
Yeah.
I did. I went to all 3 of the sites that I just posted for you because I have to make sure they still work. And 2, I just keep up on all of it. So I'm sorry. Apparently some of the guests today I froze when I was bragging about you. Sorry about that. But apparently I'm back now. I did post all that information out there though. Stuart wants to know, is this fiction?
Yes.
Okay, it's a fiction. And he says it's not out yet.
It's
So
not out yet. We start filming first part of May. So yes, I am just excited to get in there and really, because I'm going to be utilizing what I already know. And that's going to build my character because it's going to be more of me. So even though I have a different name, it's really going to be what I normally do or how I go through my life. And so that is, going to be all real there.
Yeah, that is awesome. Kathy has a question for you.
Sure.
Kathy is saying, Michelle, when you see dead people, do you see them in a zombie-like state or a better version of them?
Kind of the zombie state. I see them at the time of their death. So if they actually have shot them or got shot in the head, I will see it with part of their head missing and stuff. And that's why it's it's a little scary at times. But again, that's why I did my journey to start figuring out exactly how to deal with all of it.
Right? Yeah. And Jason's saying fiction leads us to many facts.
Yes. True statement.
True statement. And Stuart is offering himself up because he says, I play a dead body real well if you need one. So
I will keep that on the list. I'm actually going to go through training to make sure I die correctly if I die. So, there you go.
Interesting. Yeah,
so
there you go.
All the places. So that's what makes it amazing, because it's something that I do to help people and everything else. And to be able to take myself and build a character around it is kind of phenomenal, to be honest.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome to be able to do that and be allowed to do that. So
yeah.
Are they giving you a lot of free reign in this to where like, hey,
I believe so. That'd
be really cool. I can't wait for this one.
Me neither. Bring out the popcorn.
Right? Are you I don't know if you can answer this or not, but where's it going to be filmed at?
It's going to be at the Wilson Castle in Vermont. So It's actually a real haunted location we're going to be filming it at. So that's what makes it even more exciting.
So let's see how many times you get interrupted by spirit when you're trying to do this.
Yeah, I'll be like talking, going, not today.
Right. Nope. I'll be interested to see how many times I like mess with your lights or mess with your sound booms or stuff like that. I have one special request from you.
Yes.
When you start doing this, when it becomes more official and you're starting to do your headshots and you're starting to do all these wonderful pics you're taking and everything else, can you actually throw in like 1 or 2 serious ones in there, unlike your daughter?
I'm gonna try.
Right? Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, between you two. So folks, if you're not following Michelle, she also has a daughter and her name is Brittany Isley. And she's also part of the the RIP team, but she has another chapter. I believe it's in Indiana, right?
Yes, she
So
runs
she runs
Indiana.
chapter of it in Indiana. And it's funny because when these two get together, first off, you cannot tell that they're mother-daughter. Just throwing that out there now. You cannot tell they're mother-daughter. They really look like sister. But when they're together, they can't find a way to be serious. Especially when it comes to pictures. I mean, I think they accidentally take a picture of you guys being serious, because if they actually take a picture of you guys, you're never being serious, which is hilarious. And your daughter has ran with it. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
yeah. She has ran with it. So yes. Well, hello, Miss Joni. So there's Miss Joni Mitchell, also known as Joni White Buffalo. And this is my first and only mentor I have ever had. And she is absolutely a wonderful, unbelievable, awesome human being. I appreciate that. I'm glad you popped in. Have fun with your reading. And thank you for allowing me to tell you that you're my mentor and a lot of everything here, because it embarrasses her every time I get the chance to say it. And so I do it every chance I get, just because it's still true. So, and Nikki's saying how much love to Joni as well. I'm going back to what Stuart said, because Stuart said, in reality, my son and his girlfriend are actors and are teaching theater production right now to schools. So
that's amazing. Cool. That's amazing.
So that's really cool that they do that. So I'm assuming that's where he gets his makeup from, to look like he's alive. So he and I harass each other a whole lot. So it's very nice. He picks on my beard and my show, and I pick on his age. And I'm fine picking. Then the funny thing is, I'm fine picking on his age, because I know in 5 minutes he won't remember it anyways. So he'll have to go back and watch this again to remember. So.
There you go. Keep putting it on loops, gives you more views.
Exactly. See, he's like, correct. So, all right. So there's my squirrel moment, like number 3 already. So we're hitting those kind of early. So I want to go back to, was there ever a time when you were growing up, knowing what you saw? Hey, Bob, how you doing? Was there ever a time when you were growing up, or when you were late teens, early 20s type of thing, that you just tried just doing readings for people? Were you ever just sit down and go, I'm just going to be a reader?
Nope.
No, because you just knew it was going to go sideways and they didn't want to hear what you were going to say. I
have tried. I will say maybe twice in my life that have I been able to, and it was one of those that it was at an event, and this lady was there, and this guy just would not leave me alone. And I thought it was part of the place. And then all of a sudden when I do a reading, it's not like, let me tell you, I just look at you really weird and go, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, you're talking to him? And I'm like, oh, well, there you go.
There you go. Yeah.
It's really strange, because that's why I said, when I finally accepted that I speak for them, then I knew. And so readings don't come. I've tried to play with tarot cards. Yeah. You can do nothing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, I know where I'm at and I know what I need to do. And that is be their voice, with the paranormal piece. But it also helps me when we're helping some families in need. And you understand that too. Because sometimes, doing both sides, it does help, because it might not be their home. It could be the land. And so that helps me navigate of, okay, well, this is a little above me, so let me get somebody else involved.
Right.
And that's really important, like our teams, we don't try to get like, oh, look at us, we're doing it all.
Right.
We're always on the phone. Okay, I'm going to need you to come in if we need a shaman or a medicine, anything. And, but I have to stay true. Every time I try to move a little over, me in the face.
Pull you back and say, nope, not your lane.
Like, we're over here.
Yeah.
So, But I can still, because I actually recognized it, I'm able to block it when I need to. I can actually say, not right now.
Right.
You want, and before I couldn't do that because it was a train wreck. It was a straight train wreck. I was ready to check myself in because I'm like, this is too much. Why are they looking so real?
Right.
But then when I started working on things, with the psychometry and stuff, that stuff comes out too. But then I'm not just seeing what people want me to see there. I'm like, wait a minute, there's something. I always say, the truth behind the truth.
Right.
And that just kind of fills in. And the bad thing is I can tell when someone has like nasty negative energies around them that make them sometimes the way they are. And I'm just like,
yeah.
And sometimes I don't say nothing and my face just goes really weird. And everybody goes, Michelle, your face is so loud. And I'm like, oh, did I say something?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Stuart, I'm going to get back to your question in a second because I have a question in my head that I've been thinking before you started typing. So I would like to know, because you've been doing this since you were an early age.
Yes.
How did you, how do you keep yourself in a positive mode when you see all the darkness of how people died? Like, how do you function on a daily basis with what you see? I guess is the best way to say that, because at some point you had to be going, man, I know you said you could shut it off. You're like, hey, go away. But when you were younger, what did you do in order to keep yourself as that positive spirit when all you saw were the death states of people?
I had to focus on stuff that I held dear to myself, and holding on to that was what kept me going, because it was, when we have nightmares, we try to wake ourselves up or something like that. I always had a focal point of something that I held dear. So this way I knew I would always have that true intention of love. Yeah. And that's how I kept dealing with that. With a younger age, it's hard because you don't know. Mm-hmm. And when I was real young, it was just like, how kids are. I'll just ignore it. It goes away. It seemed like it was working a little bit. It wasn't coming full force. But then that day comes where it's like, yeah, we're done playing with you. It's time to start working. And that's when you start looking at different ways of, I keep myself grounded. I do keep myself protected. Protection is number one in my book. And that's for anybody, because it doesn't mean it has to be with just spirit. It's everyday energy that we all deal with. And that's just kind of grown with me.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I have a comment for that, but I want to get to Stuart's question first. So Stuart is asking, does Michelle help cross spirits over since she sees them at the time of their death?
Yes, I do try if they're ready to go. I let spirit tell me when they cross over. I just do not go into a location and say, okay, you need to go. Right. Because a lot of those spirits have crossed over and are coming back because they're confused. And that's where part of that journey is, of looking at different religions and faith-based to see, how do you do it? Do you give spirit that free will? Or are you one of those that you have to go to the light, kind of deal? And the more as I've been studying those, I have found out that you have to give them free will. Hello, Miss Erin.
Hello, Miss Erin. We spoke earlier, but yeah.
But it's you have to give them that free will. You can show them where to go, but you got to also make sure they want to go, because, if it was a struggle during life, are we making them feel that same way? If it was abusive or, never had any kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Rosie wants to know, I got to say hi to Laura real quick. Hi, Laura. Laura always tries to jump in. She's at work, so I always like the fact she jumps in. So I always want to recognize that she's here.
Absolutely.
Jumps in really quick just to say hi when she's at work. Rosie is saying, when Brittany was a baby, did they, meaning the spirits, ever try to do anything negative or anything at all with her being so small when you would see them?
No, Brittany also can see.
Yeah, she has her own
And
sort of, whew.
yeah, but it's so weird because she sees them in a different way. She can kind of tap in, but hers are different. I mean, like she
Yeah,
can see elementals and things, which I don't.
right.
So, I can tell you if they were earthbound or not, if I see a certain type of dark shadow and kind of guide you through it,
Yeah,
or tell you, like I tell everybody, if you see me turn around and run, you might want to run faster because that's something I can't help you with.
right.
So, I always made sure she had protection over her too. She didn't know I had any abilities till later on. I never spoke about it. It wasn't a huge thing. I really kept it secret for a super, super, super long time.
Yeah. It's interesting because I just heard you talking, and I've never put this together before, but I have similarities with you and your daughter.
Yep.
Because we know that you and I see spirit the same way, because I see them just like I'm talking to you. They're talking to me just like we're talking to her. So but I did not know that she can see elementals, but that's what I do. So it's interesting. I share something with both of you on two different sides. So, and I also noticed, for people who don't know, I get to pick my background, and I probably have like 9 backgrounds made. And it's just a coincidence today that mine and yours looks similar, very similar, right? I noticed that. I was sitting, I was like, and I just picked that one right before you came on.
Yeah.
So it was because before it was it was a tree of life with all the colors of the rainbow around it and everything else that I did from last week. What I had on Teresa Shantz. But today I went this way, and it's really weird that I picked the one similar to yours. Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
Ingrid, we'll get to that in a second. 1 second. Let me get to Kelly's information or question here first. How do you know if you are a trance medium? I've had some strange experiences on a couple of investigations. One in which a picture was taken of me after doing a mirror portal where the face was me, but not my face. It really shook me up.
So there's a double there comes a double there. We do have trance mediums or physical mediums, depending on what you're looking at. Trance mediums can actually use their bodies and stuff to help spirit come in so they can communicate, which some people call channeling also. But a trance medium is able to actually control what they're bringing in. Channeling you can control also, but only to a point, because you don't know which spirit you're bringing in. When you're channeling, you're just allowing a spirit. Trance mediums can actually choose how spirit comes in. But then you also have your jumpers, and those bad boys can just pop in and out and be able to do that. And if she was closing a portal of some type of mirror, which we also, can be used as portals, vortex, as the closing was happening, because of that suction going back in and doing that close, guarantee spirit went right through her at that same time.
Yes.
As she was pushing it through there, it probably went through to her to go through that as she was closing it. So
she's saying, I think it was the jumper trying to jump me.
Yeah. So and I think she was closing it in. And so she was right there and whoosh, right through.
And I'm wondering also if she was trying to close it, and as it was being pulled through Kelly, it tried to stop. It tried to stop itself in Kelly. It said, I'm not going to go into there. I'm going to stop here in Kelly. Yeah. So maybe that's why you have that. It's you, but it's not your face, type of look. It's kind of that immediate crossover. In my mind, it's I can look at the larger thing as when our two multiverses or parallel universes cross and touch to go back, where you see stuff that shouldn't quite be there, but you see both sides of it, and then it breaks apart again really quickly.
Which is so awesome, though, if you catch something like that on picture. I'm just saying.
Right? That's pretty amazing.
Scary as hell, but it's still cool looking.
Yeah. So Ingrid is asking, what is an elemental? Ingrid, there are many different beliefs of what an elemental is. They come from all kinds of different legends and lore. For me, I am Native American as well as Norse, and I happen to have them on both sides. But an elemental really is an earth, water, fire, wind creation. They are not from different worlds. They're actually from here. If they're in their true form, and they haven't. Okay. Different worlds have different types of elementals. If they are from this world, I knew you were already thinking that, so that's why I had to clear that up. I'm connecting with you so well right now. If they are from this world, they are strictly from the environment. They are strictly from those particular bases. And the best way for me to describe an elemental is if you have a history of, everyone has an understanding of Thor and Loki and Odin and all that other side, and they had the Titans that came in. Well, elementals are basically the Norse or the indigenous people equivalent of Titans. They've always been here. They've always taken care of the land, or no, Ingrid, she said never human. No, they've never been human. Like the earth elementals take care of the earth. Wind elementals help the wind, or help associate what the wind should be doing. Water does that, fire does that. But you need to understand that they do not have a consciousness like we do. So if we think they are doing something bad, they don't recognize that, because they don't recognize good and bad. They recognize, what am I doing? So if they are churning up the earth elementals, for instance, because their sole purpose is to heal the earth, and we're in the way, they don't care, and they don't see that we're doing anything bad to them. They see that they are healing the earth. Same way with all the other elementals. They don't have a human consciozness of good and evil, right and wrong. It's just what they're doing.
And no emotions.
Exactly. No emotions. They do not. Well, I would have to question that one a little bit, because so for me, it wasn't, I recognize it as an emotion, but that's because when I came into it, it avoided me. It ran from me because it was afraid I was there to take it out of its element. I was trying to move it out of its location. So it tried to hide from me, but it was recognizing me in a different way than what I think I was feeling it towards the emotion. So there was something there that was telling it that I was not there to help it. I was there to hurt it.
So it just went on the instinct of, okay,
yes,
I'm in danger. So
yes, basically yes. But yeah, so that's what it is. That's basically an elemental in a nutshell. There's much more to them. They do have different shapes based off of the land. Like earth elementals, if they live in the boulder mountain regions, the plains or anything else, they look like your big round bouldery ones you think of. If they live in a forested area, they look like the best way to describe it is, for me, is the way that you saw the people, the trees who walked in whatever show that was, one of the Lord of the Ring type ones. But it's not just a tree. They also have like the rocks and everything else attached to them as well. So they take on, just like we have our own ethnicities, they have technically their own ethnicities based off of their location and the area they live in. So you're asking, can some elementals be good or bad? No. We would consider that, we could possibly consider what they're doing good or bad, but they don't consider it good or bad. They just consider it their job.
That's what they do.
Yes. Yes. And I'm getting a lot of comments on these, so I'm trying to keep up with them. So let me scroll.
No, you're good. You're good.
Well, I'm kind of scrolling back up because I'm getting a lot of people that are commenting on the stuff we're talking about. But Kelly Dust says, makes sense. We think I bounced off and jumped into another mirror in the room. It is an awesome picture. Thank you. So that's what she was talking about that. Ingrid was saying never human. I'm going to come back to that one, Jason. I'm going to start this one so I can come back to your question. Yes, absolutely. Rosie says we would call them natural disasters then. Yes, absolutely. People need to understand that elementals are not just small. Rosie and I haven't had a chance to talk with her. We have some similarities and differences on how we see elementals, which is perfectly acceptable. But yes, I absolutely agree with what we call them natural disasters. Yes, those are the larger elementals, or the elementals working in tandem to clear an area, to wipe out something, to make something better, or that they see needs to be improved upon, or something along those lines.
Correct.
They never do it for good or evil. They do it with the intent to protect their elements. So probably the best way to say that. And
We're
Bob's,
the intruders. So
yes,
we're
absolutely.
the intruders. So, and they don't look at us as a human form, that, we're part of what's not making it not right for them.
Correct. Bob is saying, I've been told elementals like gifts, etc., to appease them. Seems that they have some kind of personality or something to like gifts. I don't want to say it's a personality, but like the one that was in someone I know's basement that was ripped up, and that elemental was trying to heal that ground from the torn up stuff that they just left as ground. In order to, I don't want to say to appease it, but to help it understand that this person was not bad that moved into the house, she planted a bunch of flowers outside the window of the basement so that elemental can look out and see this person was helping. This person was trying to help the earth. It wasn't trying to hurt the earth. So it wasn't necessarily the fact that they were given as gifts, but as a token to see that she wasn't there to damage it.
It's an offering.
Right. It is an offering. I know that for earth elementals, you can really do stuff like wheat, you can do rice, you can do sheep planted plants, you can do a lot of different things. Just like for a lot of Native American sites, what do you request? What do they want? What offering do you bring them before you go onto the lands to try to do work? You bring them tobacco for the most part. It's an offering. Ingrid's asking, is it good or bad to see them? No. They are also I know that, for instance, if you are around one that is not a mountain, per se, but it is a smaller size, like it's working in a localized area, the energy that they give off is very, it makes you feel anxious. And it's not on purpose. It's just that they're so gregarious in strength and power that it kind of overwhelms us as humans, because we're not used to feeling that. So sometimes you're like, what is going on in this area? And it's simply because they don't mean to be that way. It's just the energy they put off. It's just the environmental energy they're putting off. Rosie's asking, are they called tree people too? Yes. I've heard them called tree people. I've heard them called a bunch of different names, but again, it really depends on where the region is that they are in. So that's how I hear them about a bunch of different names. So different cultures call them by different things. But yes, I see them as tree people. If I'm in certain areas, I have an awesome picture of one that was actually a guardian to an entrance when I was over in Hawaii, and I was actually able to get a picture of it, and it was nice enough to change its colors of what it was compared to the rest of the colors of the leaves around it, so you can actually make out its shape and its figure and everything else. I asked it to do that. It was nice enough to do that. So I think it's because it understood I could hear it, see it, talk to it. Tina said, very interesting on elementals. Have never gotten in how much on them, about them. Glad this came up. Yep.
Yep.
I do a podcast. My second podcast was on elementals. Now I want to go back up to Jason's question for you.
Okay.
Specifically, we're done talking squirrel moment on elementals. Now we're back to you. Sorry about that. Jason's saying, was there a time in childhood where you felt like you should suppress what you feel, and what made you push past that and embrace the abilities that you have deployed?
Absolutely. There is one story that has always stuck very strongly with me. So I grew up in Europe, and my job every day was to go walk down the street and get bread and lunch meat so my Oma could take care of things. And same route every day. And one day I remember just running home. I couldn't breathe. I was about crying. And I was probably about 8, 9. And I kept saying there was a man trying to get me in his car. And he was trying to give me candy, and he was trying to pull me in the car. And it was so real. And I was just constantly, I would not even, I wasn't going back. And, they're like, are you sure now? I had a couple of uncles who were polizei, or a police.
Police, yeah.
And, they were like on there. I described what the guy looked like, what the car was, what kind of seat covers, or seat color and all that. And I knew this guy was trying to take me. I just knew it because I seen another little girl in the car and all this stuff. It got so bad. I was in interrogation, Are you making up this story? Because we always heard don't take candy from strangers and things. Right. So they thought I was just in my own little world, that I actually just finally just said, okay, whatever. And just kind of just started suppressing it from there. Well, then, as people start awakening again, or when you're said, hey, dink, it's time to wake up, that story just kept coming more and more and more. Well, then found out the guy I was talking about in the car, the guy was dead. Mm-hmm. And he was kidnapping children and killing them and stuff like that. So when I was telling them the story, they thought it was a lie because he was already dead. And at that moment, when I finally heard it as I was older, like, now you guys want to believe me? That's when I had to figure out, okay, I can't just blurt crap out. I got to figure out, how do I go through to develop this so I don't look like a loony? Because if I was doing that kind of stuff, or sitting in the park talking to myself, So, but that story has always stuck to me because my Oma thought I was telling tales, that's not true. And that broke my heart because I wasn't. I knew dang well that guy was trying to take me. And how do you explain something like that, Right. And so that is something that's always stuck with me, of when I started getting it all coming back, going, okay, I need to go a different way. Because before it was just like, I just random people, hey, did you know? No.
Right.
So,
now that you're 29 and you've been doing this now for,
a while,
26, 27 years, 25 years, since you were young, are you still seeing things that you haven't seen before? Are you still coming across things you're like, wasn't ready for that one, or something like that?
Oh yes, I definitely. Like I said, anytime somebody has any abilities, or even just paranormal investigators, you think about it, there's not a professional out there, because we are seeing new things, hearing new things, as we keep developing around whatever we do, other things will actually, come across, okay, you can do this. So let's push this a little bit more. Let's do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I have an open mind now more, but I've gone around a corner once or twice and go, what the,
Yep.
So, and it's really strange because, we go to all these places and we always hear about all the friendlies and everything else. And then I walk in going, no. Let's sit down and have a little talk, but that's kind of one of those things. But when I started really seeing really bad negative energy forming and seeing it in a shape of like its true self, I freaking get terrified because, and you're trying to explain it to people. I see some of these things creep out like we've spoke before, like the movie Alien, the big head and these arms. But, I'm not saying it's an actual alien. But that's how my mind is putting this so bad negative energy, to say, hey, this is not good, get the hell away.
Right.
And that's how this stuff, especially when it's not been earthbound, I am seeing it in a sense of, okay, this is straight darkness. We need to figure something out.
And I was going to ask you that question earlier, but I'm sure it had to be Stuart to sidetrack me with the comment. But I was going to ask you that because I know that your experiences are really seeing people in their death state or just straight up evil in its incarnate. Because unfortunately, as we talked, I kind of see stuff through you now.
Yeah.
Do you? I don't say unfortunately in a bad way because I actually like doing it. I actually enjoy seeing what others see. So don't think that I'm devastated and traumatized by what you're seeing.
No, I know you're not.
Yeah, I'm too dumb to know better. But do you think, or believe that any of the stuff that you see may not, I don't want to just say it may not be human, but it may not be from this world?
I have thought that, I haven't tapped into that piece yet. Am I seeing stuff coming from elsewhere?
Right.
I just get the spidey senses of, you need to back up a little bit. Let's not go there. Let's take a minute, regroup. But I've never put anything out, like, oh, that can't be.
Right.
Because I do believe in different dimensional things,
Right.
and stuff like that. I have to stay sane. But, a lot of times it's something that, I kind of see. And when I talk about seeing people in the time of their death, if there was a person that was really rotten and nasty in life, I'm seeing like their true self in that spirit world of, this is like a monster. That's the only way I can explain it.
Right.
But then there's sometimes when things just come out of the ground or out of the walls and just start getting really big.
Yeah.
Then I sometimes question, like, okay, what am I dealing with?
Right.
And so I try to navigate the best I can. I don't really always have the answers, but I at least am strong enough with myself and my intentions to know, okay, I'm going to stand here until I figure it out, unless, you give me other reasons not to. So, yeah.
Sorry, I just got off. And this is why I don't have canned questions ever, because it sets off so many different things in my head when you make comments, when anyone makes comments, because now it's making me wonder. I don't know if you ever thought about this either. Thanks, Tina. Tina says she's got to go.
Hi, Tina.
But hold on, Jason. Don't throw my thought off here by asking a question. I'm wondering if when you see. I'm wondering if sometimes when you're seeing a death state of somebody, but it does not look human, it almost looks like that monster or that something else. I'm wondering if you're seeing, just my own thought process here, bear with me, people, something along the sides of true form of what some people would expect starseeds to look like.
Oh. Okay.
Like, if that's where you're from, if that's where your soul resonates from, that's your soul location. I'm wondering if sometimes that's what you're seeing, but you don't necessarily see the star seeds that are the positive ones, but the star seeds that what we would consider negative. And that's why they look different to you than just a person does. I'm wondering, because you're so tapped into seeing the dark side, I'm wondering if you're tapping into a dark side seeing of a starseed person.
That's very interesting. I would not know, but I would like to go down that path and see where it takes me. Probably not in a very good place, right?
Hey, welcome to my show. I'm going to take you everywhere. So,
but honestly, you think about it, it could be, it could, but it's just kind of one of those, it's just how it creates, depending on my situation, where I'm at and what's going on, because we got to remember a lot of these things we're talking about, it's energy based.
Yeah.
And, you know, and our energies put off what we get, you know, we all, you know, we function on, we like everybody, you know, everybody is on the top here until you start seeing them do bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, I walk up to them and I got to tell you, I've gotten my behind kicked a couple times because of that.
Yeah.
My radar was not very well. But I can tell if there is straight dark intentions.
Yeah.
And I can tell that off the energy base of a person, you know. And like I said, have I let my guards down and have gotten kicked it in the rear? Absolutely, many, many times. Will that stop me from trusting and keep continuing with people? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
No.
Well, Jason said he was going to ask you if you see static in people.
Their energy, I can. The vibrations, I feel more the vibrations of people than actually physically seeing it. You know, like some people can see auras and stuff. I can tell when a vibrational link is there. You know, is it very high, or is their vibration so low that, you know, it's almost like we would say demon-like because it's so low level. But that's how I navigate around people.
Sorry, I saw Rosie's joke pop up and it was terrible. She says, Jason, they do. It's shocking. And she says, so, yep, that was terrible.
It's so good, though.
Oh, my goodness. All of a sudden,
Thank
she's
you, Rosie.
Hold on. I got to throw this up there just so I can say this. Hold on a second. I got to throw that up there really quick. So, Rosie, I was like, Rosie, you know what? What are you, a Commodian? Because that joke was really shitty. So there you go. So Rosie has she fixed herself. So here's the first part of it. Because I was like, what are you talking about? And then she wrote it. She says, when you see them, do they stay here like purgatory or eventually do they go to the light? And then she said, meaning bad people. So
I have not taken any bad person to the light. If you know, I like that she said, are they here in purgatory? Because that's what I always feel, that we're all here. This is our purgatory. And we figure our way because we're here for lessons and we're supposed to learn certain things before we move on to our next journey. So thank you for bringing that part in for me, Squirrel. But again, you know, I think in spirit form, you can't put on that mask or that cloak. Right. You know, yes, we talk about tricksters and things like that. They mimic as a child and things like that, but they don't do it for you to move them on. It's to get you so they can attach onto you, because their whole deal is just to make your life a living hell. You know, so you know, the ones that are the hardest to actually pass over are the ones that have committed suicide. Those are the struggles, because when we're doing free will, I always thought as soon as you became spirit, you would actually feel the release of whatever you felt, and then you could keep moving on to your journey. Did not realize that there's a lot of things that spirit holds on to. And that spirit, you know, if they felt like they were not worth anything here, they're still feeling that in spirit. And it was real. And like I said, it took me a little bit, but as I got to speaking for spirit, I understood this. So, you know, if you have a woman who had been abused this whole time and then died because of that, and she felt in living that she really wasn't worth nothing.
Right.
He's going to feel that same way. And the same with people when they commit suicide. You know, you hear people going, I'm crossing them over because I'm telling them I love them and they're great and they're great. Well, guess what? They were hearing that during life too.
Right.
You know, so it's a fine line.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting anyone down, please. I'm not trying to like put people down. But from my experience, from what I have done and what I'm seeing, this is how that works. Not everybody is going to the light. I mean, it just doesn't happen.
There is a great movie that explains this. If you have not seen, I swear to God, people, go out and watch this movie if you haven't seen it yet. It's a Robin Williams movie of all things. But if you have not watched the movie What Dreams May Come,
Yeah.
go watch that movie. Because this movie talks exactly about what you're talking about right now. How the lady in there just cannot move on.
Yeah.
She's basically put herself in her own purgatory or her own hell.
Absolutely.
So that is a movie that if you have not seen this is absolutely one of my top 5 movies of all time. And it's called What Dreams May Come. And since I have been able to step into this ability, it has given me much more meaning. And then since meeting you and talking with you, it's taken on even a greater meaning than it had from what I had. So if you haven't seen that movie, I'm telling everybody, go watch What Dreams May Come. You'll be like, that's a great recommendation, and that's a great explanation of a movie physical explanation of what you just said. So, okay.
No, it's true.
That kind of hit me a little bit more than it should have, but that's the way the movie is.
And it's the truth, because like I said, I was always under the belief as soon as you become spirit that everything is okay. Right. And it's not. This is why we have spirits. There are some that are still tormented. There are some that are just lost because they were lost in life, right. and so that spirit piece keeps coming around. A lot of people say, well, if you commit suicide or something, you're going straight to hell. Okay. Right. No. Because here's the thing. False. We do not know what your last words were. Were you talking to your God or whoever you would talk to? Were you asking? Because how can we believe that some serial killer, in the gas chamber gets to have his last rites and he's going to heaven?
Right.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
So I feel that, when I'm talking about somebody that had committed suicide, it's because their emotional energy is what is tormenting them, because that's where they put themselves in it. Right. I don't, we can go back and forth with the whole suicidal. A lot of people go, oh, I can cross them over. We can cross them over. Yes. Not saying you can't, but it's not just a one and done. They have to, their energy has to be able to be accepting it to keep it going, even if they have loved ones on the other side.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So Bob, I'm seeing everyone's questions, but I kind of want to continue on this path right here, because you talked about, number one, the hardest time. Hold on, I lost my signal.
Yep. There you go. I see you now.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, my signal is jumping because of the wonderful hotel I'm in. But the second one I have a question about is it the ones who have died suddenly and don't know that they've died?
We see that a lot with children's spirits.
Okay.
You think about it, if you have a young child, they don't see mom or dad, where are they going? But I do think someone who's died, car accident, something like that, I think they stick around for a little bit because they're in confusion, because they feel like they're still alive. Right. And when I communicate, that's what they do. Yeah. They will continue to move on. But in their mind, it's like, if I go to a light or where their journey takes them, is that the end all, right. And it's not. And right. There is a conscience of this spirit, and we talk about it, but just like when we go do a paranormal investigation, people always say, don't provoke. Well, no, we don't want to. We're respectful. But I'm going to tell you, if you go to a prison, you're not going to say, sir, can you tell me this? You have to speak in what language they were used to at that last state if you're going to get something back. It's not provoking. Right. You're putting yourself in where they were last. They were last.
Yep. They were at.
Yep. And so, this is why I'm always like, you can't just go in and say, okay, the serial killer died here, And I'm going to say, well, mister, how many people did you kill?
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Doesn't quite work that
But
way.
that's the same thing, though. But when I start seeing something very negative and it's trying to mimic something good, I will come out and say, no, you need to show your true form, or I will not talk to you.
Yeah.
Will people take that as provoking? Maybe. But you know what?
Maybe.
I am talking to spirit the way it needs to be spoken to. And I think if we start grasping around that, the way the paranormal or the way we all speak to spirit will turn out different, because not everything is the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Bob, I swear to God, I'm going to get to your question, but Rosie's kind of on the same path. So I'm going to go to Rosie really quick to see. I'm curious about this answer myself. I have it in my head, but I want to see what the young one here says. When someone is sick and not wanting to be a burden on their loved ones and they decide to be taken off of the dialysis, is that considered suicide?
See, I don't take that as suicide.
I don't either.
I take that as actual straight up true love of family. And again, none of us ever want to be burdens for anybody.
Right.
So, if they know it's not going to be anything ever good coming out of it, I don't think. And maybe, their sense is, I want to enjoy my family as is before I move on, instead of them always worrying about other things. So that's my personal opinion. I don't think it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I will tell you what the subtle difference is. And I'm okay sharing this because I've already lived through it enough times. My brother committed suicide when I was young. And it was a literal, I believe it was a outcry for help, because he was not trying to commit suicide, because where he committed suicide at would normally be a busy place where people would have found him before he passed away. But he just happened to do it on a holiday when there weren't a lot of people there. So I think so for him, I think it was a cry for help, not really trying to make the suicide move, but just trying to do a move for help. But he got stuck in a suicide because of the fact the day he picked to do it on, is my belief. So did he commit suicide? Absolutely. Was he trying to? I don't believe so. So I think his trying to move on would be one step easier than someone who was straight up trying to commit suicide, because he was trying not to commit suicide. He was just reaching out for help. So he understands if he moves forward, he will get the help even in death.
Yes.
So I think he will move forward faster than someone who just straight up committed suicide without expecting to be helped.
Correct.
So now I'm going to go back up here to Bob. Thanks for waiting, Bob. You're the greatest. So Bob says, have either one of you ever had to throw a spiritual punch, so to speak, to defend yourself? Absolutely. In fact, I had to do it kind of when I was with her at her investigation. Oops. When all the ladies were getting sick from the guy in the back, and I had to go have a talk with him. After you walked out, as a matter of fact, when I had to go have that discussion with him. Yes. It's happened a handful of times in stuff that I've been on or stuff I've been around. I know it has for you. Probably more than my handful of times.
We've had some conversations.
Yeah. And it has had to happen, Bob, to where spiritual punch in the faces would just have to, I think that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And Rosie's saying she didn't think so either, as far as taking yourself off of dialysis, and that was her mom. So so I truly think the same way, that it was just trying to unburden loved ones, and they felt that was the most loving way to do it. So Correct. It wasn't. So a lot of people see suicide as selfish. Whether it is or not is not for me to say, but some people see suicide as selfish. But what your mom did, I see as an act of love, not an act of suicide.
Absolutely.
So, Cindy, hi Cindy, is saying, one of my investigations, I came with a female spirit to contact who died at a car accident, and she was afraid to cross over because she was scared of what happens in the afterlife. It's just a fear of unknown.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we hear so many stories through so many different beliefs or whatever else that you don't know. You know, I mean, if this was a person who was, and I'm sorry if I'm stepping on your toes, Michelle, but if this is someone who was raised in a Christian household, but decided to leave their Christian faith, and they believe that they are no longer a person under God, they're doomed to go to hell. You know, and that could be a fear of trying to go to the afterlife because they don't know where they're going. Just my example.
Well, and then, you know, we always talk about everybody going to the light. And I'm just going to go back to when I went to the Buddhist temple, when I was talking to the monks, and the master was explaining they help not just take them to the light, but they continue them in the light. Because what they have to do is find what that person loved so much in life. And then they had the 6 doors. And this way they can choose the door they go through. So this way, going through the light and through the doors of something they truly loved will continue their journey, and it takes the fear away.
Right.
You know, like they said, really, really bad people don't see the bright light, but they also have a light. It just goes the other way.
Right.
You know, and like I said, we say bright light, you know, and all that. Is the other one also bright? And so, you know, are we doing? But it was very interesting that when we say we cross over, we take them to the light, or we just parking them there, and then we're like, hey, see ya, bye.
Yeah.
But it was very, you know, it made me really think. I'm like, okay, so they try to grasp on when they talk to the family, what was one of their biggest loves? Was it, you know, whether fishing or working on cars or whatever the case is?
Yes.
So as they choose that door opens with what they really love doing. And it might be they're going to the biggest lake to fish or the ocean.
Yeah.
So as they're continuing with that journey, they're continuing to feel what they felt at the moment of life.
Right.
And I guess, you know, that it started making me think, because I'm like, okay, this would make a lot of sense, because you know, everybody's scared of the unknown, whether, you know, this life, afterlife, or anything like that. And it almost brought a solace, the peace in me. Like that would make a lot of sense. You know, how much further, you know, we do hear relatives come. Well, we always also know that sometimes your ancestors might come too to help you cross over. But if you've never met them, and you're dying, and you're seeing a strange person on your bed saying, I'm here to help you, you're going to say, nope.
Yeah. Right. No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So it starts, you know, as I keep digging deeper into all these faiths and religions and figuring things out, I'm like, we all come together as one at some point. But if we just took little pieces, it would actually start really opening up this whole paranormal world of, you know, not just of spirits, but the spirituality that each person had as they were alive. And that would probably explain the other side more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because one of the first people that I found out watches my back is my dad, who passed on when I was 3 years old. He showed up as 2 different behind me when and it was actually Joni, who I told you was my mentor on here. She saw him. She's a shaman, and she saw him, and she said he was very military. He was very cloaked. He was very private about who he was, but I was able to identify him by what she told me. But when he showed himself standing behind Nikki, he showed the fatherly figure, who he was, and everything else and stuff like that. And one of the things she told me very early, I mean, I was just starting to figure all this out. Like I figured it out. I haven't figured out jack. But way back when I was trying to figure it out, she said, your father told me that heaven is not what we read in the books. Heaven is what you want it to be. Your heaven is your heaven. It's not heaven. It is your heaven. And she said, that's your father literally just told me that. So this very much resonates right along that same line of what you're talking about, what the Buddhism talked about, and everything else is all the same thing. And that's always stuck with me. So it's actually helped me. So I've never had a fear of death, but I have always questioned what's next. But when she said that, I was like, oh, interesting. Because I grew up in a Pentecostal religion household, Pentecostal Christian. Hey, look, she's still here. Hi, Joni. But yeah, so that was one of the first things that she told me that she saw was about my dad. And it was very interesting because it almost gave me like a peace, because I wasn't overly concerned for myself. But I was concerned for the ones who have passed before me, is what I'm hearing, truly what I'm, what it is. And when she told me that, I was like, okay, that gives me a peace for my dad who's passed, my mom who passed, my brother who committed suicide and everything else. So it kind of gave me that peace to know that as long as they were willing to move on, then is that it was. So here you go. So Joni said, what is her understanding of spirit world? I live to learn what others experience or understand. She says, I love. I guess what is her understanding of spirit world? Who's of Michelle's? Joni? Is that who you're talking about? Michelle's understanding of the world, of spirit world? Sorry, I'm waiting for Joni to comment back. And Rosie, she says yes. Yes.
So I feel really strong on the spirit world. That is kind of my connection. I guess when I resonate with them, I resonate with them like I'm with you. They're a true form, and they do have emotions. They do have it. We're just a shell.
Right.
So everything inside of us is what's making us go, and there comes a time we just take off this shell, and then we become who we truly are supposed to be. And that's how I feel about it. And so that's why, I'm saying the emotions, the thought process, it's all there. I think we just have a shell so we can learn little things. You know what I mean? So when you're talking about everybody's own heaven, I truly believe that, because your heaven's different. And in our heaven, it's always meeting with our family members anyways. So, it could be a family reunion, a picnic, whatever that is. Thank you. So it's just, I started, like I said, when starting this journey, when I stopped thinking about myself and stopped thinking about the living and how I'm going to make them happy with a reading that they want to hear, is when other things just started changing.
Yeah.
That's when I knew I'm speaking for spirit, and that's how I knew how everything interacts with things.
Right. So Rosie stated, so when a loved one is on their deathbed, would it be safe to say that we should tell them to go to what they love and go to their loved ones that have already passed on?
That is beautiful. That is straight out beautiful. If they loved fishing, hey, the big fishing hole is waiting for you. Your boat's already there. Those are the things, because we are very materialistic, touch, feel, smell, everything, this is how we go. And when we start seeing someone pass away, we're crying, but we're trying to stay strong and saying it's okay for you to go.
Right.
Sometimes I feel, yes, you do want to tell them it's okay to go, but add to it, so this way, as they're leaving, their mindset as they're starting that next journey is like, oh, they're just trying to get rid of me because they're done sitting here at the bedside. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So yes, it's okay to go. You don't want to be in pain anymore. You'll be able to dance again if dancing was the thing, or, grandpa's waiting to do the waltz with you again, and you can do it. And that's kind of how, it's going. And what that does, it actually brings that whole piece to everybody.
Yeah, and that's what Rosie's saying. That makes sense on natives to say, go to the big hunting grounds.
Yes.
Yep.
And we all have different versions, but again, it's all the same.
Yeah, which is funny because Joni would resonate with that too, huh, Joni? So Joni's asking, Joni, I'm not quite 100% on the sentence because I'm not quite sure of the wording, but the second part I got. But so I'm trying to see what she's trying to say here, absolutely. Because she said, would she be open to sharing any messages my loved ones say? I don't know what that is. But then she says, sharing for me, she says, I know they don't always come through, but if anything, I would greatly appreciate. Thank you, Michelle. So she's asking you to see if there's any messages coming through from her loved ones. And she says, not sure if she's sharing at the moment. I sadly missed most of this tonight. Just jump back on ASAP. So here's my question. This is for you, Michelle, because I don't want to put you on the spot here. Would you be okay? Because I have a very innate sense here that you two would love to talk to each other.
Absolutely.
So if you're okay, I would love to put you together with my mentor, Joni.
Yeah.
Offline.
Yes.
And I'll just give you guys each other's information if you're okay with that, Joni. And that way you two could meet up not only for something like this, but just natural discussion, because I get the feeling you two are two peas in a pod. I kind of get the feeling. So, and she says, yep, I'm totally down offline. Beautiful. Good. Thank you, Joni. Then she says, sure. So beautiful. So I will put you two in contact with each other after the show.
After the show.
Yeah, I'll just send you both each other's. I'll just basically do a text to all of us, and then you two can just take me out of the middle and talk. So outstanding. Unless you want me there for some reason, Joni, but I don't think you do. Not the bearded one. That's none of my business. Okay, so I kind of want to start wrapping this up though, because we've been going for about an hour and a half.
Is that good?
I do want to throw this. Oops. I want to save. I do want to throw this back out there though. So everybody, here's all of her information again. If for some reason you don't see her or you don't get a chance to write this down, it is up at the top of all the comments that we've made early on in the show. I copied and pasted it into Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So anybody on any of those three sites can go out there and actually pull this information for you. This is your Facebook site for RIP, or Riverside Iowa Paranormal. It is also for the Riverside Iowa Paranormal.org, which is ticket sales to when you actually do events that others can come to, public can come to, and stuff like that. Not only is it investigations, but it's meeting really cool people, but it's also for personal assistance for paranormal activity that may be going on that you need assistance with. And then once again, I saved this one for last again. You're actually doing your NA movie called Demonologist that is going to be coming out in May, correct?
We're filming.
You start shooting in May. Shooting in May. But you can go out to this site and you can start following what's taking place, kind of tidbits of information, this and that, and everything else. So I'm going to click off so I can go back to some messages. But if you miss it here, remember it is all the way up at the top of the comments as well. I just kind of want to see what everybody is saying up here. So there you go. I gotta scroll up quite a ways. So Rosie, it's funny. You say, can I should be bringing my mentor online sometime. Joni's been on my show a couple times, and it's true that she's coming up to be on my show again shortly. We just haven't discussed that yet. And then Josie says, sounds great. Thank you. I would love sitting with others who work in the field. Cindy is saying you are amazing. And Joni is saying you are amazing and beautiful soul being. Ingrid, Michelle is amazing. Absolutely, she is. Nicole is saying, great to have you on. You are amazing as always. Sorry she was quiet. She's just tired right now. I will share this with the crowd because Nikki has given me the okay For those people who do not know, Nikki and I Nikki has been identified with breast cancer. So we are right now on that journey to get her through her breast cancer. We know it is something we will beat. It is not a question. It is a statement. So just so everyone knows, we're not asking for anything outside of healing prayers, love and light, and helping get Nikki through this. And then Kelly saying, thank you, Tom and Michelle. Very interesting, insightful show. Yeah, you're always interesting and insightful when you're on my show, Miss Michelle. Absolutely. Love the energy. Bob, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Nice hearing from Michelle. So yes, so a lot of people saying goodnight and everything else. And as always, don't run away when we're off of here, because I want to talk to you a little bit backstage. So yeah, there's Joni. Tobacco down, prayers up. Thank you.
There you go.
Absolutely. And I'll let Nikki read the rest of the messages. But don't run away. Everyone say goodnight to Miss Michelle. Thank you again for coming on. I love seeing you.
Thank you.
And we still have another schedule down the road to set up between you and I. Me coming on investigations with you and coming back on this show. So hold tight. I will be with you in a second, and I will close down the show, and I'll be right with you. So, all right, everyone. Robert, you missed it. Robert's just popping in saying hello, hello. Just missed it, brother. Go back and watch the recording. Thank you all for coming on the show. Just so we know, if you're not up to speed yet, this is my last weekly show. I am going to go to every other week, starting from here on out, starting in, so my next show, I believe, actually isn't going to be till February 12th, as far as a live show. Now, remember, if you want to find me here, I can be found at facebook.com, Stuff I Never Learned, twitch.tv, Stuff I Never Learned, YouTube at Stuff I Never Learned. And of course, if you want to send me an email, you are more than welcome to stuffineverlearned@gmail.com. But I am going to doing shows. I will, oops, I just disappeared. Now I'm back. In the weeks I am not doing a show, I will be doing a personal podcast. And I will be posting out where to find those at. So it's just going to be, I saw that, Joni, thanks. That's why I'm trying to catch up with everything. But every other week, doing a live show. And the weeks in between that, I'll be doing a podcast where it's just me yapping about blah, blah, blah for 15, 20 minutes about stuff and the paranormal and the cryptid, whatever else we want to talk about. And it's just going to be me yapping, you listening, but it's short. So you only got to listen to this voice for 15, 20 minutes. Again, if you have topics that you want me to talk about on the podcast, feel free to send me a message at stuffineverlearned@gmail.com. And I will go ahead and do that there as well. Other than that, everybody have you want me to do a part 2 on elementals? I will. Rosie, I actually want to talk to you first before I do that, because I want to put some of your input in there as well and reference you for it. And Joni, you know, my dear, wonderful Joni, that you are allowed to do a show about whatever you want to do. So you and I will get together. I will plan on having you coming up on one of my live shows like this. And we can talk UFO, etc., whatever you want to talk about. You know, you always have free reign on my show. Absolutely. You can talk about whatever you want on my show. Other than that, everybody, have a safe week. I will be back live on February 12th, but I will be doing a podcast in between now and then. Stay safe. Much love. Have a great week. Love you all. And I will see you soon.